Well, hello.
Hello.
Tell me a little bit about the selection process. You had obviously some other roles that you were offered. What made you choose Saving Hope?
Well, a good friend of mine who has been very successful in the business, he's a director, and I asked him, what happens when the whirlwind is there and everybody's telling you to do a certain thing and there's all these different projects out there, and he said, if it speaks to you, then do it. And I think I was just at a point in my career and my life where I wanted to do something like this, which is a very emotionally demanding part,
right,
and female-centered, and so it had all those challenges within it, and I just love the subject matter of what it deals with.
Right. And I mean, obviously, are you at all squeamish? Is the blood and guts ever an issue?
I'm not the squeamish one on set.
No?
I'm the one that's usually has my hands inside the prosthetic playing with the internal organs, and people are a little bit grossed out by it. But no, I've never been squeamish when it comes to things like that.
So the other question I had is, I mean, you're a producer on the show. How did that come about?
Well, it was one of the things that I had decided I wanted to have happen in the next project I was part of, and they were gracious enough to allow that to be part of something that is my role, and I basically shadow the people that are actually making things happen,
right,
and it's a chance to educate myself.
Would you ever want to direct episodes?
Never say never, but at this point, I think my plate is full with the producing part and the acting part.
Yeah, I bet. Otherwise, I understand that you actually shadowed doctors to make some of these episodes. What was that like?
Shadowing a doctor was amazing. I said when I was watching him work, I kept going, as the minutes tick by, I'm feeling less and less significant, because what they do, and they act like it's no big deal, because to them it's just like going into any other job, and yet I see them doing things that are saving people, making people's lives drastically better, depending on what it is, and it just was fascinating to watch them and to see how they interacted with each other.
Right. And which hospital was that at, if you don't mind saying?
You know what? I would love to tell you what it is, but it's escaping me right now.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. It was actually a hospital in Mississauga. I'm not sure if it was Trillium or another one, but
wow.
Yeah.
So, and how long did you shadow for?
That particular day, it was 6 or 7 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, so I saw about 6 procedures.
So, what do you think? What did you learn from that you ended up taking back to the show?
I think it was a lot within the environment of how they interacted with each other, and just I just would even at this point I don't know how much of that was a stamp on me, because It's just all the stuff you're taking in, but a lot of it was just actually watching. The physical process was interesting, the biology was very, very interesting, but all that aside, it was just their personalities, the way they related to each other, the way they functioned, how they did their surgeries, and just taking in that whole atmosphere.
Right. So now going through the show, what do you think that people are going to get the most out of as the show progresses into the storylines?
I think it's the heart of the show.
Yeah.
It's there's so much that's going on. They're going to fall in love with the characters, and it's those beautiful, challenging questions, because it just puts out there, what happens? Do you believe in just the science, or is there other things out there? And it's not a show that's meant to have an answer either way.
Right.
And I just love the perspective that having that supernatural part of it, the in-between state, just gives that other perspective. And the hospital drama part is just the backdrop for the greater picture of our story. And
we've never really seen a show like that in terms of, it seems like a natural fit now, but we've never really seen anything like it.
We haven't seen anything like it, and I know people like to say, well, it's this meets that, and we do that a lot in our world now, because there's so much product out there. So you can't create another product without it being reminiscent of something else.
Right.
But it is so much its own story, its own show, and it definitely has a new twist on everything.
And have you ever watched many, dramas like this, medical dramas?
I've watched a lot of medical dramas, back to when I was a kid watching MASH and watching a relationship with, the character Hawkeye was like, I just loved him. But yeah, I get into all of them.
Saint Elsewhere, that's the first thing I think of.
Saint Elsewhere, you've got our more recent Grey's Anatomy and House and ER, and they were around, and they have been around for a good reason, because people want to watch a drama that has stakes in it. So you're only going to have high stakes in those settings. Otherwise you're going to watch people eating popcorn, and then you're getting into reality TV, right?
That's very true. Well, as an actor and a producer, were there any things that you had to try and avoid in knowing, I guess, about all those other medical dramas, or is it just kind of natural?
You know, for myself, it's just being in the tunnel of what the show that we're creating, and because I knew it had its own perspective and its own voice and that sort of thing, it was just, we locked ourselves away in our stage in our hospital, and it's been our own world, which has been great.
Well, and that's the other thing. I mean, the set is, I guess the first time I watched it before I'd read the press notes, I thought it was a hospital, but this is actually a set that you guys have built.
Yeah, Benno, our head designer and carpenter, he did such a wonderful job designing it. It is just like a hospital. We have real equipment. When I go in there, I feel that I'm in that world, and it makes it significantly easier for me to grow within it. They've done a fantastic job.
It must make it easier to play the role when you've got such a strong set, I would imagine.
Yeah, it is. Everything's real, actually. We were joking. It's the, not to put it out there, but it's the kind of set if you are going to have a bit of a cold or an accident. I mean, that's the kind of set. You've got doctors on set. You've got the real machines. So it's the kind of place, and it's a very germ-free environment. We have a ton of those antiseptic things all over the hall.
Oh, really?
Actually, we've all become a little bit hypochondriacs doing it, because you see, all the stuff that you're privy to all the time.
Right.
So people are constantly running around. It's kind of funny.
What's it like working with the cast? You've got quite a big cast. It seems like an interesting dynamic between all the different characters.
Again, I think the writers have done a fantastic job of interweaving all the characters, and we have a great support staff. We have our three main, but we've got these other people that come in. Newcomer Julia Taylor-Ross is a rock star. I'm totally in love with her. She plays the character of Maggie Lynn, and she's a new resident, and so we have a really fun, interesting relationship, and she brings so much to it and a lot of levity, and we need that in our show, and we have these different characters that are coming in, and it just make it so much more interesting and so much more colorful.
Right. And Michael Shanks, very interesting fellow. What's it like working with him?
It's super easy. I've known Michael for almost 10 years, and we've worked together on a couple different scenes, very briefly. So it's like a second language. It's really, really easy to work together, and we've had a great time. And he has such a good beat on the character and adds such levity, and he's very sardonic with a lot of his stuff. So just when you think it might get, I know that some men are skeptical. They think, oh, it's a women's show and all those kinds of things, but he does such a great job when it's getting to those points where you think it's just going to maybe be too melodramatic, and he's very sardonic, and so that's what they've done. You've given a little bit for the women to watch, which will love it, and then just when you think it's going to maybe be too heavy for all of us and there's too much to take, they add a bit of levity to it.
That's cool. Well, the only thing I'd otherwise like to ask is what do you think fans can look forward to with the relationship between your two characters? I realize you probably can't tell us a lot, maybe, but I mean, can we expect to see him a little while longer? Or?
It's one of those things they've done a wonderful job of doing flashbacks of the relationship too, and it's just this wonderful love story of two people trying to come back together, and how hard they struggle and fight to find each other again. And I think that the audience, if they've got a heart, they're going to fall in love with them right away.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.